Pigweed here. Today we review an IPA and discuss a 19th century American novella. Well, gentlemen.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening, Crow Hill and Longinus.
Longinus. All right,
do we
fantastic.
do?
How about some beer and conversation?
I think that's a great idea. What are we drinking?
So this is an IPA that we just picked up down the road.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Very good, very good.
All right, so what's on your mind?
Well, Mr. Giovinelli, Winterborn, and Mrs. Costello.
I see. So it's time for PNC's Shortcut to the Classics.
Yes, where we read short works by some of the great authors.
Provided they're not too long.
Yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah, all right. And today, Longinus has chosen Daisy Miller by Henry James.
Very good, very
Okay,
good. Good
fantastic.
choice. Well, let's try this one first. What do we have?
Yeah, so this is from Atlas Brewery, the solar-powered brewery in D.C.
Okay.
So you should
They make a big fuss about
You should
that.
be tasting some sunshine in this
Yeah.
one, I think. And it's an IPA. And what do you think? It's a West Coast style, so it's
So
kinda
West
clear.
Coasty. I mean, it looks like a Budweiser.
Yeah.
Stinks to high heaven in a great way. It's got 52 IBUs,
Wow,
which
strong.
is a lot, and you can taste. That's a bitter beer.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a. So the West what is it? The caricature of a West Coast beer is hops and water.
Yes. You know, don't get any sweetness or maltness.
Right.
Or
Don't
anything.
bother me with that other stuff. It's just
No.
hops. But this one you can actually taste a little bit of malt backbone in there. But it's a very strong hop beer. Yeah. All right.
See, I would look at it. I would say the New England IPA would be the bitter, and the California folks would be sweet as Tupelo honey.
And that's not the way it
That
works
is
out.
not the way it works.
Not the way it works out. Yeah, the New England style is that hazy. It almost feels like they put.
Hazy, juicy.
It's like they put flour in the beer or something. All right. So what do we want to do here? Talk about Henry James.
Well, let's talk about Henry James first, and then we'll give me some some dates and facts.
Yeah. So 1843 to 1916.
Okay.
American born, but became a British citizen.
Is that so?
Yeah. And spent much of his adult life in Europe. He was rich. Came from a rich family. Apparently, he's known for his mastery of psychological realism, the art of portraying subtle workings of human consciousness, especially in moments of moral or social tension, and that's going to be relevant. To
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty. Yes. So he basically never had another job. I mean, he did well. He did well as a writer, but he also had a lot of family money.
That's right. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
He had a lot of family money, but he also made a lot of money writing for the Boston Herald and.
So he did regular writing.
So he did a lot of
work,
reviews and critics and things like that. So
that's work. That's work.
What about his famous
But he
brother?
comes from a lot of money.
Yeah.
What about his famous brother?
So
They both went to Harvard or Yale.
Harvard.
Harvard.
They both went to Harvard, and actually Williams just stayed up there, and he was the big professor up there. So William James was a year older. William actually fought in the Civil War. Henry didn't because of a back injury, so he couldn't fight. But when they came out, but it was like these two brothers, William and Henry, are just intellectual powerhouses.
Right.
William's really important in philosophy and psychology, and you would say comparative religion. So all those three fields out there, he had a huge impact. Of course, it was a lot easier to do back then because those fields weren't really maybe even created or whatever.
That's right. They're plowing new ground.
Right, they're plowing new ground with that. But it's just really exciting. A lot of people say that William James was the one that wrote more beautifully. William James wrote like a novelist, and Henry James wrote like a psychologist. Even though it was
can you imagine Thanksgiving with those two brothers?
That's right.
Yeah, Henry James, never married?
Henry James never married. He was a lifelong bachelor, and of course, scholars have
all
been
kinds of
all
speculation
throughout speculating, was he or was he not, gay.
Right.
So,
Although I know lifelong bachelors who are clearly not gay, so it's not necessarily the way it goes. So apparently, much of Henry James' fiction explores the contrast between old world and new world.
We'll see that
cultural differences and things. We'll see that in this story. And what else is he known for? Portrait of a Lady.
All right, Portrait of a Lady.
Turn of the Screw.
Turn of the Screw. I think that's the one that I'm most associate with him.
A Ghost Story. Right. Yeah. Okay. And Wings of the Dove.
And Washington Square, the Bostonians, the Ambassadors. Lots. He was a prolific writer.
So this is but this is all pre-World War I stuff, right?
Right.
He didn't have AI to help him.
He didn't have AI to help him. This is there are two versions of Daisy Miller. We have the 1897. 79?
1878, I think, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't tell from my Kindle version what version.
Okay, this is 1879, but then there also came out a 1900-something version.
Right, so he
I don't know, he just re-released it with a...
What is really interesting about Henry James is he kept on complaining because the more he wrote and the more books he came out, the less readers he had. So he became less and less popular, or less and less popular, I guess, with the populace. With the populace.
But but amongst the intellectuals,
Oh my God!
Right.
And now he is absolutely a master. He could take a sentence. I mean, he could write a 30-line sentence. And,
I don't like those 30-line sentences.
Keep those up. But he can But he can make sure it's grammatically correct.
All right.
Okay.
So what I like to do here is race through the plot.
Right.
There's not much plot going on.
Yeah.
In about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the analysis.
Sure.
Okay, so what we have is it's a study in two parts.
Right.
So the first part takes place in Vevey, Switzerland, which is on Lake Geneva at the opposite end of actual Geneva.
Supposed to be a famous place to go have a.
It's a summer resort.
It's a summer resort place with a lot of Americans, and so we meet Mr. Winterbourne, who's an American, who spends most of his time in Geneva. He meets a young boy named Randolph. Randolph has an older sister named Daisy Miller.
Right.
And he's smitten with her.
Yeah.
And wants to say, hey, let's go visit that castle over there, right?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, because Daisy suggests that the two of them go out on a boat. At one point, at the nighttime, just the two of them going out on a boat. Daisy suggests that they go visit the castle, and that was just not the way things were done in Europe in those days.
Winterbourne is there to visit his aunt, who is an American, but a Europeanized American, who sees Daisy and goes, "No, that ain't she. She's not right. You don't do that.
She's quote unquote unsophisticated.
Unsophisticated.
But she's like the most beautiful girl anybody has ever, beautiful woman anybody has ever seen.
Yes. Yeah, so it's interesting here because you have, So
real quick. So they go out on the boat and
they don't go out on the boat, but they do go to. They take a boat to go visit the castle.
To visit the castle. Yeah. And everything goes well, and he has to go back to Geneva.
Yeah, and she goes to Rome.
And he says, "I'll meet you in Rome."
Yeah.
That's basically how part one ends.
Yeah, right.
And part two, he shows up in Rome, and
she's been flirting with all the guys.
Right. So Rome. She's there. Yeah. He finds her. She and her family, and she's there with her mother. Yeah, Mrs. Miller. And
her mother seems very unconcerned about just like letting Daisy run free.
She's got some health issues or fake health issues, and she's not really that concerned.
But Daisy's flirting with all the guys, and then ends up with this Giovanni guy.
Yes, there's a lot of scuttlebutt, right? Everybody is talking about the American flirty chick.
Yeah.
And then our man Winterbourne shows up.
Right. And she gets mad at him because he didn't immediately go straight to her.
It's like I just got off the train yesterday.
Right.
So, but he's kind of third wheel because she's got this new guy, Mr. Giovanelli.
He's an attractive guy with a big mustache.
A beautiful mustache.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things too is before they leave Vevey, Daisy wants Winterbourne to stay.
Yeah.
And Winterbourne says, I can't. And Daisy gets really, really upset over that.
So you've got some mysterious lady.
Got somebody on the side over there.
No, we never. All right, we'll find out about it.
So, so Daisy's hanging out with this guy, Giovanelli, and Winterbourne is sort of the third wheel.
He's very third wheel.
He's kind of hanging on, and you wonder if his motive is to be around Daisy, or if his motive is to be sort of like a chaperone. So it's sort of a mixture of the two.
You're right.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, they go to. There's another American lady here. What was her name? Is this Parkinson's or something like that? What was the?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the one that tries to get them into the carriage. Like, all right, there are too many people are talking. Mrs. Walker.
Mrs. Walker.
Right,
Yeah, right.
all right,
Mrs.
just
Walker, who's older than both of them. I mean, Mrs.
Yes.
Walker could be their mother, or
Kind of, yeah. And she's got a motherly tone about her, and she's like, all right, all of this walking around unchaperoned, it's not a
Can't
good
happen.
look.
Right.
Get in the carriage. People are talking.
Right.
And she doesn't.
Right.
And Winterbourne does, and he regrets it.
Yeah.
Hates it.
And then they end up in the Colosseum, which we can talk about the imagery there.
Oh, that's great. So right. So and then at this point he's kind of lost track of her.
Yeah.
He goes to the Colosseum, moping around at night, sees
Right.
two figures off in the distance.
Yeah,
and
of course it
he's
turns out.
absolutely terrified about that.
Yes. Well, because it's a place where you catch Roman fever, which
fever.
is
Malaria.
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 Right. Yeah.
So goes over there, says she shouldn't be out. Giovanni says, Giovanelli says, yeah, you're probably right. You better get her home. All right, get her home.
It's a combination of two things. It's a place where you can get sick, but it's also a place for scandalous meetings.
Yes,
apparently.
right.
Yes.
So it's just not the right place for a young lady to be in many
And
respects.
she decides to stay there all night long and catches.
She's like, well,
malaria.
I always wanted to see the Colosseum by moonlight, and so
She did.
boo, 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 I did it, and then she does catch malaria
And dies.
and dies.
Yeah.
And that's the end.
And well, pretty much, except that Winterbourne kind of chews out Giovanelli for saying, "What in the world were you doing?"
He's like, yeah, that was
exposing her to
stupid.
this, and his excuse is basically, "Have you ever tried to convince her out of anything?"
But he also states then that oh yeah, she would never marry me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So he had some high hopes, but I think he.
But they right. The other thing is throughout the whole novel, she is the most beautiful woman anybody's ever seen.
Right.
In fact, she gets more. The descriptions of her get more and more beautiful. He keeps on saying, "Oh my God, her beauty." That's kind of important in some aspects.
Right. So my first observation is James's reputation is for being extremely difficult to read, and I went in this going, Longinus has dragged me
done
into
it to us
He's
again.
done it to me
What was
again.
that other one he
First
put us through?
it's Foucault, followed by Wasteland, and
Yeah, I
one
know.
other.
It's like, yeah.
And then I'm like, this is
Giving us
easy.
all this crazy
This was
hard
totally
stuff.
easy
I know,
to
this
read.
is an
So
easy
apparently
one.
this was very early in his career,
Yeah.
and before he got that. Now I think, but the other observation is the other difficulty I would say is for a 21st century middle class guy who doesn't know what classes are,
Right. Yeah.
to really put your head inside the mind
Yeah.
of Victorian Europe
Yeah.
social conventions,
Yeah,
because
you've gotta-
I'm like I couldn't. It was hard for me to see that Daisy is doing anything wrong, so I had to get my think like Mrs. Costello and Mrs.
You
Walker.
have to read some Jane Eyre and some
yes.
some of this kind. You have to watch some period pieces.
She's
about,
walking around in an open street.
Yeah.
With a man without a chaperone.
Right.
Scandalous.
Right. Yes.
Right.
It is different for us. But
The other thing too, though, is even in his early prose, as in Daisy Miller, he's still quote unquote a master. He still provides us with everything. It's a lot easier to read than his old.
Yes.
No,
I love the writing. I was just just expecting
expect it to be difficult.
a real challenge, but
Right.
Yeah, I did too.
yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, good. I'm not going to get
All right,
chewed
so
out.
this is the other thing that's difficult for guys who work 40 hours a week their entire lives. Just that the upper class where you just spend months
Spend your
at
time
a
just
time,
doing whatever. Yeah.
at the most expensive hotels with the most expensive clothes and never thinking about money at
Right.
all.
Yeah. You don't have to go to work. You're just out. You want to go out to dinner. You want to go out to this, whatever. You just whatever.
Yeah,
Money's
there,
no
right,
object.
and then, then looking down on people because if they don't have the proper social graces
Right,
and all
yeah.
of that. So the Millers are our new money,
Yeah.
right? So
And American.
and American, but apparently but everybody. This is the thing.
This
This is
an
not.
expat community. Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
everybody's an American
Yeah.
in this,
Except for Giovanelli.
right?
Yeah.
But I think that's James's point, right? So you've
Right.
got these sort of Europeanized Americans
Yes.
who are then confronted with a straight up American
Right.
Yeah.
woman with
right.
money.
And throughout the 19th century, the upper class in America would always strive or desire to go on the quote-unquote grand tour, to spend the summer, to spend the year in Europe, to spend that time in Western culture and really soak it all up.
I think to some extent it was an inferiority complex. They felt like we didn't have enough culture
we
here.
didn't.
They have the culture over in Europe. You got to be more like the Europeans if you want to have any.
But
And
all of them. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and in here, it talks really about that thing. Is that Daisy Miller is not interested in the history of the culture. She's not interested in the castle they went to.
No.
She's not interested in the. She just was just flitting and flirting all the way through.
Flirting.
Yeah.
Yes. So because the important families of Europe have these long lineages.
Yeah.
And like the little boy says, Randolph says, my dad's in a better place. Winterbourne goes, oh, maybe he's in heaven. No, he means he's back in Schenectady, New York, running a factory or something, making tons of money. But he's a businessman.
Right.
And there at that time, there's nobility. You don't
run a business.
Business is dirty, know.
It's
And
kinda
so
like when
American rich people are businessmen who are one generation away from being poor.
Yeah.
And so when they're looked at by these other Americanized, who have greater family pedigree.
They're a bunch of chimps in suits.
Yes.
They're wild men pulled out of the wilderness, shaved and put in a fancy suit, and they think
Right,
they're
and that doesn't
equal
make
to these-
you fancy. Now, apparently she's beautifully dressed.
Yeah.
Great taste in clothes.
Right.
But she's still common, lowborn,
Right.
uncultivated,
and doesn't follow the rules.
Innocent.
Okay,
Right.
innocent.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the big
Well, that's
questions
part of
is she innocent or is she, manipulative or what's?
Well, that's really at the
A little
heart
bit of both,
the
right?
book, because I think everybody's trying to figure it out, and even at the end of the book, Winterbourne is still trying to figure it out. At this point she's been ostracized by most of the people, and he says they stopped inviting her
to parties and things.
and things, and he said to himself, she was too light and childish, too uncultivated and unreasoning, too provincial to have reflected upon her ostracism, or even perceived it. But then again, so she's thinking to himself, so that he's got himself convinced, and as you're reading it, you're like, yeah, that's probably her. But then he goes, yeah, but maybe she carried about her an elegant, irresponsible little organism, a defiant, passionate, perfectly observant consciousness of the impression she produced. So, which was it? She totally knew what she was doing and just didn't care, was flaunting it. Or, you know what? It's just Daisy being Daisy.
Yeah.
Totally innocent.
Yeah.
Just doesn't know enough about, what cultured families do.
Yeah.
Or is she like a feminist who is flaunting all of the conventions of Europe?
I think that at the very end of the book, where the last message she sends to Winterbourne is that she says, I was never engaged to Giovanelli.
Yeah.
Is a hint that she's not innocent. She's not this naive innocent. She knows what's going on.
Uh-huh.
She was just kind of hiding behind this veil of innocence. That's my
Well,
interpretation
she was
of that.
right. I mean,
I
that's
don't
what
know.
flirts do, right? They kind of like they fall back into their innocence and
And they really know,
sort
and they're
of
really
trap you
clever
with
and very
that.
manipulative, but they hide behind this mirage of being.
And I think and Winterbourne never did quite penetrate which it was, and I think the reader is kind of left wondering. You seem to lean towards one direction, but
So here's my big question thus far. I like to use the word "thus" every now and then.
Thank you.
Is the Daisy Miller type character, let's say that is a character that was in 19th century America.
Yeah.
Was she sort of the beginning of sort of that feminist movement? In a sense that, how does a movement get started? Is it that you go over there and you work out all of the abstract philosophical thoughts and ideas and make sure they work together? Or is it like, Screw you! I want to see the Colosseum at moonlight.
Yeah, and the philosophy follows later.
And the philosophy follows later.
Yeah, I would. It's an interesting question, although I wouldn't attribute too much, big picture thinking to her. I think she was just pig-headed and stubborn.
But is this?
Right.
But is this?
But I'm saying Henry James.
Yes, is
right.
this James saying this is America crashing on the shores of Europe?
Yeah.
And bringing in, because her mother says, or Mrs. Costello, somebody talking about her wild granddaughters back at home, who are New York flirts.
I've got it now. I can merge what Longinus is saying with what I was saying, which is feminism is derived from pig-headed, obstinate, stupid women.
Well, I wouldn't say stupid. But I wouldn't say stupid.
Okay, we'll drop the stupid. Pig-headed and obstinate.
Well, pig-headed and obstinate against what? Pig-headed and obstinate customs.
Okay, now that's what we have to get to.
Yes.
Because there's a thing that goes around on social media. It's FAFO, which I'm not going to say. But my daughter has a better way of saying it, which is play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Right.
And to me, that summarizes Daisy Miller. Is she plays stupid games, like this idea that a woman should have an escort when she's out is not a crazy idea. I mean, ask women in Europe today whether they'd be better off walking around with an escort. Women who are being raped at ridiculously high rates in Europe right now. The idea that a woman shouldn't be out at night with a man, wandering around, that's not a stupid idea. And so this idea that you don't go to the Colosseum late at night and catch malaria, that's not a stupid idea.
Right.
So she's basically flaunting these rules that maybe she thinks they're dumb. They're not dumb rules. They're perfectly reasonable rules.
But you didn't go to the Colosseum at night if you were a young American woman. If you were an Italian, sure, you'd go there all the time.
No. That's not true. The whole point was she did things that European girls would not do, and she was kind of cut a little bit of slack.
High-class European girls would not do.
In her
high-class girls would not do, but
right. Yeah, she was defying the conventions.
Yes, European girls were not going out unescorted, and she was just like, well, I'm not a European girl. Maybe they should be a little bit more like American girls.
Yeah, I mean, my point is when you defy the conventions, well, maybe you should have stopped to think about why the conventions were there in the first place. It's kind of like Chesterton's fence. Don't tear down the fence until you know why the fence was put there. And if there are these conventions about the way people are supposed to behave, they're there for a reason. And just saying, "Oh, I don't care. I'm going to thumb my nose at it. I'm going to do my own thing." Sorry, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, but I think we're talking. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to bring who was the person who said, American customs crashing on the shores of Europe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, the biggest thing, of course, is democracy. And what is democracy? I mean, if you read the Declaration of Independence, it is all about individual freedom. And, it's about protecting the ability for individuals to have freedom and to allow them to become a manager and an owner of a factory and to become rich and to send their family to Europe. That was, that right there, Europe was feudal, Europe was imperial, Europe was royalty, The French couldn't pull off democracy.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it.
Well, and I think the difference there is
too steeped in nobility and
class-based. It was too class-based.
I don't know why, but they couldn't do it.
So they had.
Just because of French, probably.
We didn't talk about who is the courier, which is kind of
not Raymond. What was the courier's name?
Eugenio.
Yeah, Eugenio.
So Eugenio is I think he's more like he's an interpreter and a guide, and and I love that they're like, they treat him like he's a gentleman.
I know.
I bet they dine with him.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. How dare they mingle with?
How dare they mingle? They're the kind of people who would, be nice to the help.
Right.
Right.
And it was like that. Yes. So there's a distinction between the Millers.
Yeah.
But I think
So-
what a
so-
bunch of jerks and snobs.
Right. So there's an interplay here. I mean, there's another, right? There is the American customs
Right.
crashing against the European customs.
Yeah.
And then there is this group of expatriates, Americans, who think that they know the European customs.
Okay.
Yes, because
that's an interesting
Winterbourne,
perspective.
on several occasions, it's said, maybe you've been in Europe too long,
Yeah.
right? And that's why she keeps calling him so stiff, right? She keeps calling him a stiff,
Right.
because she's used to, American men are a little bit more relaxed. He has
Yeah.
been Europeanized,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so
And-
this
and-
question about how well are the Americans actually absorbing European customs is a reasonable question. Like maybe they don't have it quite right.
yes,
Yeah.
they're.
Well,
I
then
think
they're also
trying
maybe
too
even
hard,
creating their
or-
own,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, or like you were saying, Crow, that they're self-conscious
Yeah.
and trying to imitate Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too much. I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay to be an American.
Yeah.
We don't come from that tradition of class and nobility, and
Yeah.
you don't treat the help like normal, like they're normal people.
So I got to pause for just a second and do a couple of show business things. First of all, Atlas Brewing, well done. This is a good beer.
Yeah,
I'm really
really
enjoying it. Send us some more. We'll be happy to review them. Second, if you like the show, like and share it. Tell your friends. Give us a review. If you have a question, send it to pigweedshow@gmail.com. But also, one more thing. Oh, this whole question of the high class, the way they treat things and everything else reminds me of this time when I was a young professional in D.C. and I went out to lunch with this high-powered D.C. lawyer who was actually from South Africa. And I kind of thought of him as sort of a higher class, he was a lawyer, had a lot more money than I did. He had a big,
He had a cool accent.
Had a cool accent. He was, he was in an important position with the government, and we went out to we went out to lunch, and he treated the way he treated the wait staff.
Yeah.
I thought, I would never treat anybody like that.
Right.
He was so rude to the wait staff.
Right.
And
And he's used to a distinction.
Yes, he's used to a class, and it's the same thing what you were saying. I'll bet you they dine with Eugenio.
Yeah.
That kind of jumped out at me. I thought about that incident when I was having lunch
Yeah.
with this guy, thinking, "Oh, is that the way the upper class behave? I don't want to behave that way."
Yeah.
You
But
know?
right, and why did she say that? Why was it bad to dine with your courier?
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's just not.
That's not the way you do.
That's not the way you do things in Europe. Because class is
Is that
everything.
the way that Americans don't do things in Europe, or is that the way?
They're Europeanized Americans who are
Yeah.
going. You don't
do that.
You don't do. And plus, she's like, this Costello
that's the
is
help.
from money.
Yeah.
While the Millers
Right.
are new money
Yeah,
and didn't draw that distinction.
yeah, yeah. You watch
Is Henry James
Yeah.
making a feminist statement, making a class statement?
Right.
What's he doing?
A lot of all of that, and I don't know. Is he standing up for the Americans, because he was a very Europeanized
Yeah.
American?
I don't
Right,
get the impression that he's standing up for anything so much as just drawing it out and saying that these are the conflicts that arise.
This
and
is
kind
what's
of
going
allow,
on right
allow
now.
the reader, allow the reader to interpret it the way they like.
You don't think he's interpreted it? I would, Mondays, Wednesdays, I would say you're right. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would say, no, he's drawing things out.
Okay.
Now, what about this idea of Winterbourne? Like everybody puts this this bunny ears around studying in Geneva. What is Winterbourne doing in Geneva?
We don't know,
Is there like a mysterious older woman?
Well,
there?
he does
And-
move on fairly quickly afterwards. So I think that he's there's another tension going on
Yeah.
here, which is
Because Daisy says, I want you to stay. And he's like, oh, I got to get back.
Yeah.
What do you got to get back? You don't even have a job, as far as
Yeah.
I can tell. But
so
you
another
really
thing,
got to get back.
another thing that might be drawn out in this story is the fact that women had certain expectations and men had certain expectations.
Yes.
Like the man could have some side action going on in Geneva,
Yes,
but Daisy was expected to be, pure and all this kind of stuff.
Yes, I think that is a major theme of this, is that, well, but not of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it says that too, right at the end.
But it's not that. If James is saying it's unfair for us to have different expectations of men and women, and women need to be released from the patriarchy or whatever that. No, not really. I think it's perfectly understandable that we have different expectations.
Yeah, I hate it when people say the way you treat women should be exactly the same way as you treat men, and the way you treat men should be exactly the same way as you treat women. That's just stupidity. Women get pregnant, men don't.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be serious.
Yes, the way in the way that you approach your your value in the marketplace is different, and because of its biological roots, it's not some fake social construct.
Right.
It's biological. So the fact that we do have different expectations is, but what James, we're talking in 1879.
Yeah.
I don't see Daisy as threatening the
social order.
The social, yeah. But I'm not in 1879, so
she's thumbing her nose at the social order.
Right.
But I don't see how she's threatening it.
Yeah. Whether she's doing it in innocence or calculation.
Right. I think that's why. I think that's the beauty of how James has laid this out. That you never.
You're not sure.
He doesn't.
But he brings it up, right? And then what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Is it right for American values to crash on the shores of Europe?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were sure glad during D-Day, right?
Good point.
I mean, so there's something that America did right, and going back, America did democracy right, or at least in the beginning, right?
It's like
but France couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I know. We just showed you how to do it, and even Thomas Paine went over there to help.
Right, exactly.
And you guys
still couldn't do it.
And you guys just turned into a bloodbath. Reign of Terror 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
So hold on, but I had to look it up. I'm like, what are they talking about, this Roman fever? And I'm going, what is malaria? How is malaria a big deal in Rome? And why? And you at night in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to challenge what's going on here. Yeah. It must be true, but it sort of caught me off guard.
Was it a warm period?
I don't really.
Yeah,
know.
we might have to look at the climate graphs and see whether it was a particularly warm period.
I was like, what is this Roman fever?
Because you don't usually have. I mean, malaria is usually down in the south problem. Like we don't have malaria in Maryland.
Right. I mean, Rome's in the south, and
but
Rome.
Isn't Rome? I mean, that's close to the equator, isn't it?
I mean, Rome is low, but but Rome. I saw this interesting chart of all of the cities that were built on swamps, including Washington D.C. and Mexico City, Rome.
Okay.
Yes.
So it was a swamp. So you would. That's a lot.
So they were still in the process of dealing. Like I think by the 20th century, they pretty much dealt with the malaria in Rome. But it's just something to just think of in some swampy place in Central America or Africa, right?
Wow.
I mean, Rome, and that it would knock you down in a week. A healthy.
They didn't have any cure. They didn't have any cure for it back then. So
Well, I thought Mr. Eugenio had some pills, according to.
That's right.
Go
take two of them.
Winterbourne says, "Well, you better get home and get Eugenio to give you some of those pills."
Yeah.
Well, apparently they didn't work.
I wonder what they were.
Yeah.
I know that gin and tonics were supposed to be a palliative against malaria. That the what's the stuff in gin?
In
the tonic water. Quinine in the tonic water was supposed to help against malaria, but I don't know if they had.
So in a formalist view of analysis of the book, is Winterbourne the protagonist or is Daisy?
Winterbourne.
Yeah, I think he's a protagonist. But I like the position of, you got to respect your customs.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the position of Daisy, who's saying, consciously or unconsciously,
Yeah.
screw you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to respect.
Yeah,
You have to
I
respect.
respect both of them.
Yeah.
You have to
I thought,
respect
you know,
the "I'll go my own way"
Yeah,
attitude.
I thought she was great, and she,
Right.
I mean, she wasn't banging all these guys. I mean, she was
Right.
just actually
just a flirt. She was just trying to enjoy herself.
It's
with
not
a
a flirt.
She's
Okay.
like, she's like, oh, gosh, it's so boring here. Back in New York, we used to go to so many parties
Yeah.
and hang out with dance with lots of guys. Well, I know one of the criticisms was she danced with the same guy too often. Like, you know,
Yeah.
the Mrs. Walkers and Mrs. Costellos of the world.
You know, since I'm a little more accustomed to going to dances nowadays, if you see somebody dancing with somebody a lot,
Too often?
that means something.
Yes,
It does.
exactly. That's what they're
Yeah.
saying. They're going, all right, I don't even know if they might be engaged.
That's right.
And so, yes. So, did Giovanelli really have a chance?
Never.
No.
Never. No,
never had a
I-
chance.
I don't think he ever did.
And I think he's. Go ahead.
She was just, she didn't see it. She was either too innocent and dumb to see it coming, or she was too calculated and saying, hell
Right, and
no.
we
I'm
don't
not
even
getting-"
know which. Now,
Or she was too, open and free to say, hell no, I'm not getting it.
right, and one of the questions was, they're like, so Daisy was very rich, new rich, but in their minds below old rich.
Yeah.
And Giovanelli was below that.
Yes.
Like, he was above his own station.
Yeah.
He was doing all the right things, but if he was only a count or a marquess, then maybe he would have had a chance if he had a title of some kind.
Yeah.
But there's no way he's getting into the Miller family money
Yeah.
with his station in,
Yeah.
in
I
life.
think he's the scoundrel of the story because he should not have been dominating all of her time.
Uh-huh.
That was wrong. He obviously should not have let her stay at the out at the Coliseum overnight.
Which he admitted.
Yeah. So I think he's the villain because I mean he's not a huge villain, but he's as much of a villain as there is in this.
Right. Where would you call like the climactic point, the conflict, and the denouement would have been right? Is it the confrontation in the Coliseum? Is that the peak?
I think it's
moment?
when she. I think it's
Yeah, I
when
think it
Daisy.
is.
That's a possibility. I would put it where Daisy refuses to get in the car, in the carriage, where she says, what's the woman's name?
Mrs. Costello.
Yes, she says,
Or was that Mrs. Walker?
Mrs. Walker. She says, look, you shouldn't be out there. Come get in the cart with me. And
Yes.
Daisy says,
Act right.
Screw you. I'm
Seriously.
going to do my own thing.
People are talking.
Yeah.
It looks
Right.
terrible.
Right.
It's a terrible look for you.
Yes.
Get in now.
I'm trying to save
And
you
Winterbourne's
from this.
like, I agree.
Yeah,
I'll get
right.
in. And he's like, what am I doing here with Mrs. Walker? Daisy's now walking the streets.
So I would put it there, but that's
true.
Did Winter? All right. So the other question is, right? Winterbourne was really attracted to Daisy.
Yeah.
Because everybody was.
Right.
Every heterosexual male was.
Yeah,
Right. But he was also like, oh my God, he saw. He's watching a slow train wreck occurring.
Yeah.
With her.
Yes.
Yes.
So
He wants to come to the rescue a little bit.
Yeah.
right.
And he
So
does have this-
he has noble intentions and hound dog intentions.
Right. Hound Dog and is torn between the two worlds because he's straddling
Yep.
the European and the American. You know what I thought of? Daisy is a silly name. Is an
Yeah.
unserious name.
Okay,
right.
that's a good
and it's
point.
kind of and it's not her real name.
Annie is
her
her
real name's
real-
Annie,
yeah.
or her real name's Annabelle probably.
yeah.
And then she shortened it to Annie, but that wasn't like cutesy enough. And so now it's the silly Daisy that flounces into Europe,
Right.
and without a care in the world. And I think.
Well, it's a great read. Pay attention.
And it's a short read.
It's a short read. But let me say this: reading is like driving a car. If all you want is your car to get you to a location, that's fine, and the car has done its job, and you can read a book that takes you to a new location and you have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
But I think what literature is you appreciate the car But to appreciate it, you have to read the owner's manual. You have to pop open the hood. You have to read what other people have said and thought about the car that you're driving to really dig that car. And so this book here, I think you could read it and put it down and never think about it again.
Yeah.
But if you pop the hood
Yeah.
and you kick the tires a little bit
Yeah.
and you get some friends and you talk about it, you're like, there's really a lot going on more under this Ford Pinto.
See, that's
than I thought.
what I've learned from you two literature guys, because you guys went to school and studied this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I studied science. So, like the idea of reading this literature and looking for these kinds of things, it's totally foreign to me until we started doing this.
I know it. I love it, but I do see like a lot of times you can read it, just Daisy Miller. You're going, okay, well I guess I finished that book.
Right.
And you put it down and you just go on about your life.
Right.
And it won't
but
mean
there's
anything
things to think
you.
about. There are questions to ask.
Yes.
I
And
think that's a good point.
I suggest that if you're going to read read all the fun books you want. That's fine.
Right.
But you might want to get together with a friend and have an informal book club if you want to read something deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Daisy Miller is a great introduction
It is.
Yeah.
into Henry James.
There you go.
It is. It's not intimidating at all.
Ask me in 3 years if I've read anything else. and I'll tell you.
Okay.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yes.
All right,
All right, gentlemen. Well, that was a
Okay.
good time. And
Very good. All right. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.